I'm Chef James Boyce of Galley and Garden, cooking a stuffed Manchester quail with cornbread and winter root vegetables for BirminghamRestaurants.com. So this recipe is perfect because, as I've been told, not many people cook quail at home because they're worried about it. So this is adapted for the home cook to make it as easy as possible. So start off with a warm pan with just a little bit of whole butter in it, with just a little bit of diced onion, and we're going to cook that for a few seconds, not to burn it or even get too much color on it. And the idea behind it is we're going to cook this in stages using a little bit of the ingredients as we go along. We got some celery root, we have some carrots, we have some bacon which we're going to put in right now, and this is a cured smoked bacon. We got to make sure we get a little smokiness in there. And while we're cooking this, I want to talk about the quail. So these are boneless sleeved quail. So they're whole, but all the bones are taken out. And you can find these in a lot of the stores right now, Whole Foods and other supermarkets. And the great idea behind this is because you have everything entirely left on the quail. There's only two little bones, the leg bone and the wing bone. All the bones from the interior are taken out, and we just have to stuff them, which is a great and easy application of this. So you can see we're cooking the onions, a little butter. Make sure you have enough to coat everything. If not, just take a little bit around the edge of the pan. Once we get this cooking, the fat will render off of the bacon and flavor the onions. We don't want to add too much salt to this. We want to wait because we're going to add a little bit of other ingredients instead of salt because we have a lot of salt from the bacon. Next up, celery root. Get that going. Turn the heat up just a little bit. While this is cooking, we're going to take our cornbread, which you can buy the cornbread, but it's so easy to make now. You get a can of cornmeal, cook it up, it's great. And you don't even have to worry about cutting it because we're going to just break it off into our stuffing to make it a little coarse and a little bit rustic. So you can see this is cooking great. Next are raisins, golden or just regular black raisins. I should say red. And we have just a little bit of minced sage. And here's the whole, this is from our garden out in front. And here's the part where you can sort of add to this if you wanted to. If you wanted to, we could take some mushrooms and enhance our recipe, because the best recipes are mistakes. Just tear them off. We don't even need knives in this. A little bit more. And if you have people that don't like mushrooms, leave them out. Stir that up. Cook that for 1 second. And then for a little color, we could add some carrots, which I think are nice, and we're going to use these on the side of our dish as a little contrast and flavor. Nice small little slice or dice, depending on what kind of carrots you have. So you can see everything is nicely melted. Let the carrots cook for a few seconds, keep it nice and level on the pan. I'm going to add just a little bit more butter. You notice how I just go around the edge of the plate so it warms up before it goes into the pan. So you can get an idea of the good mix. Raisins, onions, a little bit of mushroom, which I added. That's not on the recipe. If you wanted to, you could add celery. We added celery. You could add your Brussels sprouts in here, but I'm going to keep those on the side. So it comes up again, it's cooking. What I'm going to do is just put a little coarse chop of this cornbread in there. And when we add this, we're going to turn the heat off because we don't want to keep cooking it. Everything together. And we're just going to add a splash of wine. And that does two things. It gives it a great flavor. Plus it takes all the good little pieces of bacon and onion off the bottom of the pan. Gives it a little moisture, great smell to it. We're going to set this aside. Heat up our butter just a little bit. This quail almost done. Pretty much done. And while that's cooling, put a little bit of butter in my pan. I'm going to prepare the garnish for my dish. I start off with just some cleaned Brussels sprouts, cut side down. Up the carrots. What I did is I washed them, trim them up, cut them lengthwise. Put these in the pan. Some oyster mushrooms. I'm going to leave them whole this time, not cut them. And your salt and pepper. A little salt. A little pepper. And if you didn't want to cook these on top of the stove, you could just throw them in the oven along with the quail that's going to be cooked. But we want to get a little color on these first, so we're going to leave them on there. So what I've done to prepare the quail is I've rinsed them and dried them. And then what I would do is make sure this is cool, unless I'm going to cook it right away, which I'm going to. And then I'll take spoonfuls of my dressing and stuff my quail just by pushing it. And I want it nice and plump. It's almost like filling a glove. You see? Then I can hold it up, get all the extras off the outside of it, set it aside. Same thing, open it up, make sure we don't tear the skin. So you have the breasts on one side and then the bottom. We'll just pull this. Perfect. So we've done a couple of those. These are cooking. I'm just going to add a little bit more butter. I want to get some good color to it. Just set that aside. So here's the trick. The only thing, instead of, we truss chickens, we truss all these pens and everything, it's really hard to truss a, meaning like tie it so it stays in a perfect shape. So I've come up with a little trick where I take a piece of foil, about 4 times the width. It doesn't have to be perfect. I fold it up, make a little collar for this. Turn that down, you can hear that. Take a little butter, grease one side of it, take the legs up, push it together, and fold it around. Look at these, beautiful golden brown. We don't want to overcook them. Just flip them over. Turn the heat off and they'll carry over. Okay, so the same thing. Push them all together. Over about 1 inch. Brush it. Pinch it together. And that saves everything from spilling out of it. It also lets it stick together. Okay? Baste the, or grease or oil. You don't have to use butter, but you do have to use butter on the top of the quail. And make sure there's no food on the top. Brush it, melted butter. Season it, a little salt, a little fresh ground black pepper. Go in the oven, 450. For probably 20 minutes. And these come right off. And we let them cool for a few seconds, probably about 5 minutes. And we got our garnish here. So we take them out of the pan, cut them right in half, leave them whole, and what we want to do is just slide them apart just a little bit so it still looks like the whole quail. And then we have our carrots. Just a couple of each. Some Brussels sprouts. Some mushrooms. And then if you wanted to, simple, easy little juice you can make is you have your pan with your drippings in it. and bring that up to a little bit of a simmer and cook the juice down just a little bit. And this is so simple. It's not a complex sauce or anything. You don't need chicken sauce because this is so flavorful with the beautiful vegetables. You really don't have to worry about it. You just need to cook some of the liquid out so it intensifies the flavor of the juice that's left from the cooking, the roasting of the quail. So you can see that getting some big bubbles on there. And just glaze over the vegetables and the quail. And if you save a little bit of your beautiful sage leaves, just take them and garnish the plate with them. And there you have it. I'm James Boyce from Galley and Garden, and this is a Manchester quail stuffed with cornbread and winter vegetables for BirminghamRestaurants.com.